Friday night, football is getting underway in the state of South Carolina. Chad Wilkes, first game at Lamar High School. How you feeling, man? Are you nervous? 4 state championships in a row. Friday night, we're kicking off first game. What are the feelings right now going through your head?
I'm kind of just tired. Too busy to be stressed. This is the busiest I've ever been in my life. So it's also the least amount of stress I've had going into a season because I don't have time to be stressed. It's just the grind is overtaking any chance of feeling anxiety or anything.
I think that being a 1A coach, that may be a benefit, is that you have to do so much that you don't get to be stressed. When will the stress kick in? When will that happen? Do you think it'll happen Friday afternoon? Will it happen before that? Because you're going to get some nerves.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it'll probably be on the bus going to once everything's completely taken care of. Once we get on the bus, that's probably when it'll hit. But yeah, I mean, it's just been so much with school starting back with the teachers and everything. It's been an insane workload here for the last few weeks. So it's almost like when you go to camp in college as a player,
yeah,
and all the days just start running together and you almost just forget how much it sucks. You're just doing it. And that's kind of what my life is right now. That's really what I feel like.
How much time have you spent on your lesson plans for the first day?
Oh, man.
You got that lesson worked up, baby?
Yeah.
Oh,
luckily my teaching load's a little bit less than what I've had in the past, and I think that first day we're going to do a little partner interview and share with the class, and just try to run that clock a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a very kinesthetic type learning style. They'll be really involved with their own learning and sort of directing their own learning path. I think that's really important for me.
See, I don't know if people care, but for those of you listening, me and Chad have been friends since we were little tiny kids. We grew up in the same town, so we know each other very, very well. So when you hear us joking and saying things, we have a very long history. We played high school football together, won some state championships, coached together our first year. So if you're wondering who's talking and how we know each other, we've been friends forever, just so you know. We've got some awesome episodes coming up, guys, and we really appreciate y'all. We've had a lot of people review and rate. If y'all would continue to do that for us, we love that. We've had some of y'all messaging us on Twitter at Coaches Drive is our Twitter handle. Y'all have reached out and told us some ideas, and we're definitely going to try to work with those. You can email us, thecoachesdrive@gmail.com. So email us, tweet us. We're on Facebook, The Coaches Drive Podcast. So reach out to us, keep rating and reviewing. We really appreciate it. We've got an awesome episode today coming out with Coach Rick Jones at Greenwood. Chad, what did you take away from that conversation with Coach Jones? I mean, he's been coaching 42 years. If you don't take something away from him, you're not listening.
Unfortunately, the listeners aren't going to be able to, obviously, it being a podcast, they can't see it. But with us doing these Skype calls, we actually are, looking at each other when we're talking. And the thing that struck me is he's been coaching for 42 years, and the excitement and almost just joy that he had on his face just talking about football and talking about offense, is really unbelievable. It's almost like a kid at Christmas, just literally in the middle of the summer, just talking about football. He was just smiling, and just the joy that I saw on his face. I mean, it's unbelievable that he's been able to keep that for so long. So even more than anything he said, I mean, it's just the passion that he has with the insane amount of experience and success that he's had to still sort of have that feeling about the game and about kids and football in general. I mean, I would hope that, that's how I am. I mean, he's another one of those guys that's got so much more experience than I do, and that I look at and say, man, if I can be like that, when I'm his age and have that amount of experience, that's really good, because a lot of times, obviously, people get cynical and jaded as time goes on, and he definitely has not at all, and he's still trying to stay ahead of the curve from a scheme standpoint and culture standpoint and all that stuff. I mean, he's really unbelievable. It's really cool to talk to him.
I thought, like you just said, it's so cool to see a guy who's been coaching 42 years, but he's the guy who comes into meetings and is like, oh my gosh, I just saw this thing on Saturday. We didn't put this in. That. Yeah. It's cool to have that mentality and always want to learn and change. But I'm not going to keep y'all waiting any longer, guys. Coach Rick Jones, just quick bio, 42 years coaching, over 30 years as a head coach, 9 state championships. He's been to, I believe, 14 or 15. National Coach of the Year. Coach Jones, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man.
Hey, I'm happy to be here, Jonathan. It's great. Enjoy talking to you guys. I always enjoy talking football with anybody, so I'm happy to be here.
Yes, sir. First off, before I ask any question, have you ever been told that you sound more like a football coach than anybody else on earth? Like, your voice sounds so much like a football coach. Have you ever been told that?
I've coached, I think this is our 42nd year, and I think that's the first time anybody's ever said that. But I do know that we're in our summer camp right now, and I've been offering a lot of encouragement, I guess you can say. So I take it as a compliment.
Compliment. It is. 42 years of guiding young men. It's definitely a compliment. That sounds like a daggum ball coach. Coach, so you've won 9 state championships. You've been the National Coach of the Year. You've been to, is it 14? You've played for 14 or 15 state championships.
I'd have to sit here and count it up, but I know that if I'd have coached better, we'd have won more than 9. I can tell you that.
What keeps you going right now? You've accomplished about everything that a man could hope to accomplish getting into this profession. What keeps you waking up every day? And we've asked another guy this who's won 10. But what keeps you going to work?
Well, I've never gotten it quite right yet, even though we've won it. There's always ups and downs and ins and outs, and maybe I'm just simple-minded, but it's not really about. And it's easy to say that when you've won some, but it's not about winning the championships. I mean, we love it, we work for it, we strive for it. We do, 7 days a week for 4.5 straight months, but that's really not it. It's just the joy and excitement of the game and the kids and all that goes into it. I'm lucky to be simple-minded. I love the challenge. Every year's a challenge. In high school football, we can't draft them, we can't cut them, we can't sign them off waivers. You just take what you have and you try to put it together. And a buddy of mine's named Billy Dawson. He's out of coaching right now this very second, but he and I were talking about it this last fall, and we were talking about, well, we might do this, we might do that. And I said, man, you're just like I am. He said, what's that? I said, you love the puzzle. And that's really, I think, the thing that drives me. It's the puzzle. It's putting all the pieces together in the right places with the right staff and with the right offense and the right defense and the right kicking game and giving a bunch of kids a chance to have success on the field. And I think that's what drives me as much as anything. I just keep saying that it's simple-mindedness. Is I just really love what we do, and I love having the challenge to wake up every morning. We're at a place where even though we've had success, it is never going to be easy here because we've not had a plethora of Division I athletes. We're the smallest school in our division in the state of Arkansas. We play teams, we'll play teams 2 or 3 times bigger than us. So it's always a challenge, and I love that aspect of it. Even though we've had some success, we still have an underdog mentality. And one of the things that, we talk about all the time is a chip on our shoulder. And I decided that because we hear that so much that we even decided we're going to make our own chip. We have our own chip that we're going to keep. We have to do things other people aren't willing to do. And it's that kind of challenge that fires me up and makes me people ask me all the time, how much longer you can keep going? And it's sort of like an insult. Like, we want to be relative. We want to be able to impact kids. We want to be able to coach we love. And I don't have any better offers right now. I tell people all over the country I'm able to speak here and there, is that I'm just glad to be the football coach at Greenwood High School. I mean, it's an awesome, awesome place, and it's an awesome opportunity, and I can't imagine doing anything else. I'm really, really fortunate to be here. We have great kids and great people, and that's what keeps me going. It is a challenge. I mean, we've got new quarterback this year, going to have a bunch of new players, and it's going to be a huge challenge for all of us. So we're going to have to work hard and unturn every stone and look at every nook and cranny trying to figure out a way to win some football games.
Chad, did you hear that? It's not about winning the championship, man.
It's easy to say it.
Yes.
honestly, I get that. I mean, I get that and understand it, but it's really, yeah, if you're taking over a program that's 1-4, if your family wants to eat, I would advise you to try to do that. But I tell people, we're in Walmart country here in Arkansas, and every time I go to Walmart, I probably get asked, 10 times, how y'all going to be this year? How many are going to win this year? And I just always had the same answer. We're going to win. Hopefully, we're going to try to win every one we can. We want to try to win every game we can. And that doesn't mean that we necessarily have the best talent, but we have kids that work hard, that are dedicated, disciplined. We put them in the right position. We want to walk off the field with a feeling we did everything in our power to win the game, and then I'll let the chips fall where they may. But we want to win every one we can. That's sort of the way I look at it.
Yeah. Coach, looking back on it, what was your best season? Or which season were you most proud of? Was it a championship team? Was it maybe a team that didn't win? Like, what was the most proud season you've ever had as a coach in your 30-plus years?
Coach, it's really like saying which is your favorite kid. I look at it that way. I mean, I tell our guys all the time that a team has a life, and it starts the day after the season ends. That new team, that's day one for them. That's their birthday. That's the day that new team is born. And then it's sort of the journey that you go through. And so it would be like saying, we've got 3 kids, and it'd be like saying, which one's your favorite kid? Well, it depends on what day you ask me. But in truth, to be honest about it, but, I've been proud of teams for different reasons. We've had guys, we're the only team in the history of Arkansas playoff football that's come from 2 touchdowns behind in the fourth quarter to win a state championship. I'm proud of that team. They hung in there. In fact, we were down 14 with 5 minutes to go, and the other team had the ball on our 50. So, we were up against it, and we battled back and found a way to win. A couple years before that, we were playing the same team at their place. We're down 24 in the middle of the third quarter. Found a way to kick field goal at the end of the game to win the quarterfinals and eventually won the state championship. So, there's been great things like that. The team we had at Edmond in 1989, Edmond, Oklahoma, they had never won a state championship at Edmond High School, and we had a group of unbelievably great kids that were determined that nothing was going to stand in their way, and they were going to be the first ones to do it, and they did it. It's been every year, especially its own way. At Broken Arrow, when we were at Broken Arrow, no team at Broken Arrow ever went to the finals. They had never gone to the finals. The biggest school in Oklahoma, never gone to the finals. And we didn't get the job done, but we did go to the finals, got smoked. But we did something that had never been done. But, in terms of just being proud of a group of kids, I probably have to look back at 2000 in Broken Arrow. We built a brand new stadium. Everybody's excited. We go out there and have the worst season that we've ever had, the only losing season that we've had, period. And it was a combination. We just, whatever you want to call bad luck. I don't believe in luck, but it's bad, whatever. I did a bad job coaching. We had some injuries. Things happen. We end up going 4-6, but in the last game, we're 4-5. Our record's 4-5. We have no hope for the playoffs. We're playing for nothing but pride. We're down 10 with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and come back and win that football game for no good reason other than a bunch of kids just wanted to win. And it's just being proud. I'm as proud of them as I am the state championship team that came back with 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win the game there, because they showed that even though it was as bleak as it could possibly be, if you hang in there, what we say, hold on to the rope, keep paddling, or whatever you want to say. Those are things that I'm proud of. And it's just the individuals, you get a phone call at, 9:00 at night, say, Coach, I was thinking of you today. Something happened at work or something happened in my family. And those are the kind of things that really are meaningful. And we love winning. Trust me, we're not apologizing. We love winning. We love going out there and doing everything in our power to win. And it's easy to say if you've had some success, winning's not the most important thing, because it's darn important. Now, I don't diminish that at all, but when you look back at it, it's not necessarily the championship teams. It's just teams that battled and fought. I don't know any group of kids that I've ever coached that wanted to win more than our 2004 team here at Greenwood. Is our very first year. We came in, changed everything, and those kids were unbelievable. They bought in. They gave it everything they had. We got state finals playing a great team from Wynn, Arkansas. We're up 14-7 at halftime and received the kick. And I call the worst 2 series in a row in the history of football. Amos Lonzo Stagg was turning over in his grave. It was horrific. we end up letting them score with about 56 seconds to go. We let them score. We fell down. They scored to go up by 8. And then with 26 seconds to go, we scored, went for 2 to try to tie it, get it overtime, and fell short. And that was 100% my fault. I call it horrible 2 series. I didn't call great the other time either, but those were just remarkably bad. But those kids did everything we asked them to do. You know, the old cliche, they laid it on the line. They hated losing more than any group of kids I've ever coached in my life. And I was so proud of them. And I think, you know, your question is, you had mentioned about, have you ever been happy after a loss? Well, I was not happy after that loss, but I walked off the field and looked at those kids, and I just felt devastated because I hadn't done a better job for them because they deserved it.
And Coach, you've been the head coach obviously for a long time, and I mean, I can't attest to what I'm about to say because I wasn't born yet, but it looked like football was a very different game from what it is now. And I mean, a lot of coaches, you know, maybe, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. They do what they've always done if they've had success. So that means doing the same thing offensively, scheme-wise, systematically. You haven't necessarily done that. What do you think it is about your mindset that has allowed you to go and sort of just go with the wave as football's changed?
Oh, man, that's such a great question. I have such respect. I look back at the truly great coaches usually had. Gordon Wood ran the doggone wing tee down in Texas forever. And as far as I know, didn't change and won more games than anybody. And I'm not sure about your coach there in South Carolina. That's the winningest of all. But it would drive me nuts to do the same thing over and over and over. I come in every Sunday afternoon when we have a staff meeting, and I say, man, I've seen some stuff on TV that's unbelievable. And thankfully, we have smarter coaches than me who say, whoa, Coach, you know, take a chill pill. We can't do all that. But I'm always looking for the next best thing, for the newest rendition of stuff. You know, the RPO stuff, so fantastic and so cool. But over the years, we've run multiple I, sort of the old Nebraska Tom Osborne I is sort of what we cut our teeth on. And we've been flex bone and multiple. And then in 2000, like I say, we were running the flex bone, about got fired. And I watched Michigan play Northwestern in 2000, and Northwestern beat Michigan. That should never happen. And Kevin Wilson was at Northwestern at the time. I saw Rich Rodriguez. I was speaking at a clinic in Mississippi last week, and I got to listen to Rich Rodriguez, and I just sat there and looked at him, and I thought, you're the guy that saved my job. You don't know that. I didn't get a chance to visit with him because I was speaking next, but I thought to myself, I'm listening to the guy that saved my job because we were about gone. And there's such a cool segue between the spread and the flex bone. I mean, we know how to read. We know how to pull pitch. You know, we know how to, mesh, pull, and pitch. And we can handle perimeter blocking. And there's a lot of segue, between the flex bone and the spread. But I think the spread has saved us. And it's the spread, what the heck is it now? The spread now in the NFL is putting in 11 or 12 or 21 personnel and then lining up 5 wide. That's the sort of the soup de jour as football is evolving. But I don't really have ADD, I don't think. but it would bore me to death if we came out and did the exact same thing every day. And I worked for a guy many years ago that, if it was a seventh practice, he had it filed away. This is practice 7. This is what we're doing, practice 7. We've been at it for 30 years, and that mentality drives me crazy. But there's a lot better coaches than I'll ever be that did it. One of the guys I think about, I interviewed when I was a young guy with Bob McQueen at Temple, Texas. And Coach McQueen was one of the gurus of Texas high school football. He ran the wing tee for years and years and years and years. And then toward the end, he went to the spread and won another state championship there at Temple High School. But I'm always looking for the next best thing. I look at, and this is sort of off the subject, but I look at what Iowa State is doing to spreads with their defense. And I don't know if you guys have paid much attention. I think that's going to be the thing. The 3 safety, they call it the 3 safety defense. But I think that's going to be a thing that's going to give us a lot of trouble. And we've spent quite a bit of time studying it for our own purposes, obviously, but also to figure out, the best way to go about it. They've given OU fits, and the talent level is not close. And that's, it's stuff like that. I mean, if we just stay the same, we're falling behind. And I just feel that very, very strongly. I love the challenge of people, those deadgum defensive guys. You got to watch people like that because they're a dangerous, dangerous breed. Because those guys, you could put a guy with no arms at wide receiver, and they'd put someone out there. And that's really, you think about that mentality. Just think about that for a while. But they will. That's the way they are. But it makes it fun because, with our defensive staff, they're always scheming us and trying to trick us and find out different ways to do it. And we might just line up and run unbalanced 5 wide on them just to watch them scream and yell and throw fits. But I mean, it's always that challenge between the, it's good and bad. It's evil and pristine, and you got to watch those defensive guys because they're always scheming for us. They're always trying to figure out a way to put 12 guys out there and not get caught. You just got to be always on your toes trying to make adjustments. But that's a long answer. But I mean, man, I watch Sean McVay. I got 2 books right here, one on OU's offense and one on the Rams offense. I got another one on the Chiefs offense, and I just love watching, see what really, really smart people are doing, a lot smarter than I am. But we've had some really good people that have shared and been generous. And thank goodness for that.
Since the time that you started, what do you do more differently now than you did back then? Is it, practice, the way we practice is way different. The way you schedule practice is way different. The way you handle kids. What's the thing that you see as the biggest difference in the way you do things since the time you started?
That's a great question. That I tell people all the time is that it's not the what. I mean, I'm not getting too philosophical, hopefully, but it's not the what. Everybody's got good offense. Everybody's got good defense. As coaches, we had to focus on the how. And you hit it right on the nail on the head. How? It's not what you do, it's how you do it. How do you practice? How do you implement? How do you take it from the board to the playing field on Friday night? And I think that's what people call this. That's what I call the system. What is your system for implementing what you have in your head that goes on the board that eventually shows up on Friday night? And I think the thing that's probably changed more than anything is just technology, because I am so old, I have to admit, we started out with 16 millimeter film, and we had one copy of that film, and we never filmed practice because there was no method of doing that because we couldn't afford it. And I think that's the thing that has changed, because now, I'm a big fan of Dub Maddox there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with the R4 and all that stuff. And we joined his system. And I mean, he's got so much stuff. He has so much stuff on there is that you could go forever. We got a buddy in Minnesota that has a Google Drive that's got, I mean, hours and hours, days and days, weeks and weeks of stuff that you could just sit and watch. And with podcasts, you know, Keith Grabowski, they're at USA Football. I walk about an hour every day, and it's just, I mean, on my phone, I have a huge number, over 200 podcasts dealing directly with football. I don't always listen to football podcasts. I listen to business podcasts. I listen to history podcasts. I listen to leadership podcasts.
Coach, you got to make that 201 now. 201 now. You got to add this one to the library.
Because, well, if you're ignorant, it's your own doggone fault today.
Right.
That's right.
You had to have. I remember when we went to VHS and the boss I was working with said, "That's never going to work. It's not clear enough." And I said, "Coach, we can film practice. We can make copies. We can," and all of a sudden, everybody's in VHS, and then, the format goes and goes. And then and I'm no offense to DSV, but we're using DSV in the old days, and it's like 16 steps to the video to a CD. It's crazy, or to a DVD. It's just crazy. And now it with whatever company you use, there's one fairly famous one. It's right there. It's right there. My brother's head coach at Kerrville, Texas, at Tivy High School in Kerrville, Texas. Every Saturday morning, I shoot him our film. He shoots me his film. I got a buddy in Georgia, coaches down in Camden County, Georgia. I said, "Man, send me that film." And he's doing something good. Send me that film. I think that's the biggest thing, Coach, is just the technology. If a guy doesn't know, it's his own doggone fault today. I think kids have changed. I think their motivation for playing football has changed. I think it's more relational based. I love the game. I love the game of football. And honestly, I don't know how many guys love the game as like I did. But that's okay. I'm not saying they should. I'm just saying, I've probably taken it to a warped perspective. But their motivation has changed. I think it's more about relationships. It's more about being a part of something. It's more about being on a team. And while all that stuff was always well and good, I think that's one of the things that we try to build as we build our football program, is have opportunities for kids to be together and work together and spend time together. And we have one of the greatest culture builders that I've ever seen is a ping pong table that sits in our locker room. Those kids sitting there and play ping pong and laugh and joke and talk and have the best time. Their kids love our locker room. And I think that's part of it. And I'm not so sure that back in the old days it was quite that same. I laugh when I think of my high school coach. If he would walk in my shoes for one day, he would be so disgusted. He was the veteran of the Battle of the Bulge. He was hard-nosed, old school. He didn't give a rat's fanny about my self-esteem. I can promise you that. That was the least of his concern. And I look back at it and I just, it's almost comical the way it is, but I think it's a lot about why kids play. And I say this over and over and over. High school football is a big deal. We're Walmart, but when I was growing up, if you wanted to go to the Five and Dime, you went to a place called TG&Y. Well, there's no such TG&Y in this world anymore. There's no Gibson's Discount Center or something like that, as far as I know, because it's changed. And if we don't change to our customers, then we're going to lose. We're going to lose business. And in this day and age with CTE and with heat and with the things that are involved in time and effort, energy that it takes to play high school football or junior high football or even youth football, we're going to lose our customers. And if we don't have customers, we don't have a job. If they don't have football at Greenwood High School, so they can hire me to coach. And I think that's the thing we got to always remember. And I look at our kids, when that bell rings 6 hours for them to come to athletics, they make a choice every day. They're all walk-ons. They're everyone walk-ons. We don't have any scholarships in our program. Now, people might disagree with that, but we have no scholarships. We're a public school. And when that bell, they make a choice. They vote with their feet. We high-five them when they come in the door. They come right through our office, right in the middle of our office. We're high-fiving. We're saying, man, I'm glad you're here. Let's go. Let's get to work. Let's have some fun. Let's go. And I think that we have to have that mentality, because they're, and I use this illustration quite a bit, but in the way things work, the president of the American Buggy Manufacturing Company probably stood on his desk at one time in the history of that company and said, don't even worry about that Henry Ford fellow. All we got to do is make good buggies. And that's just not true. And I think that's the way that we have to look at it. They're our customers. We got to, and if they don't get served, they're not coming back. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I think that we're lucky to live in a great town. It's sort of, you might call it old fashioned, but football means something in this town. I know in South Carolina, there's a ton of places where football really means a lot. I'm good buddies with Bobby there at South Carolina, and I know the great job that he did there at the high school in South Carolina. And I know some of the history is a lot different. And it's but man, we got to provide for our customers. We have to make sure that we're meeting their needs, or they're not coming back.
So for you, schematically, I mean, what's next with football? Are we going to get even crazier spread, or is it eventually going to overcorrect and we're going to start seeing crazier defenses, so everybody's going to go back to running the ball? Like, where does it go from here?
Well, I think the what I said earlier is probably, and I don't know if this is a long-term thing or not, but what I see is more spread out of heavy personnel. Where you put heavy personnel in the game, the defense matches up with heavy personnel, and then you have to fight. You put Gronkowski at there, and then say, okay, now what do you do? But I think that's probably part of it. But in high school football, we don't have the ability to go draft a 6'6" tight end. So with us, it's always a matter of, do we have a tight end body type, or two tight end body types, or do we 5 little guys, little bugs that can run all over the field? And it's just adapting what we do to what we can do. But I think a lot of to me, if there's a trend toward odd defense. There's a trend toward people obviously being multiple in the secondary and taking away the easy stuff. That's usually the evolution of a defense. They want to take away the easy stuff first. And in the flex bone, they want to take away the daggum triple option. And then we'll go from there. They get to that point. And I think in the spread, they're trying to take away the easy stuff. It was a lot easier in the spread to make yards 15 years ago than it is today. But that's what it's all about, man. That's what makes it fun. And when you see a true innovator, that's what makes it really, really fun to watch. And with all the video out there, with all the information that people have, I think change just comes sooner and sooner and sooner. I just see the evolution. You would think, common sense tells you that somebody's going to go back to, 2 tight ends, 2 backs, run the dadgum power. I think there's a certain, if you put 11 little bugs on the field, they're going to put big guys out there and try to pound you eventually. But I think that's sort of the evolution of it right now. And can we change our personnel, or can we run different formations with the same personnel ideally to put people in binds and create matchup problems?
That's like the last drive that everybody talks about with the Patriots in this past Super Bowl against the Rams. They went out 21 personnel, 5 wide for 5 straight plays, ran the same play for 5 straight plays with James Devlin, the fullback, out at wide out, and went straight down the field because the Rams tried to match up with their big personnel, and they ended up with somebody that shouldn't have been on Gronkowski. and they threw it down to the 2-yard line or whatever. The only thing, I think that for high school, I mean, it's so important to try to find mismatches wherever you can. You know, we don't have the same guys. Obviously, everybody's not always a great player in high school, but wherever you can find those mismatches is what's important.
Yeah.
Chad,
no
can
doubt.
you imagine? Go ahead, Coach. Go ahead. You're good.
Well, I don't think we see in high school as much of the matchup situation that you have in the NFL. Our box counts can vary depending on who we play. I mean, it's interesting how much man-to-man people really want to run, even if you don't have that guy. But that's the thing. It's just like you say, it's getting the matchup, and then if it's not matchup, then it's numbers. You know, you either get numbers or you get an advantage with a one-on-one matchup.
One day, you know, when you think about the coach who's stuck in his ways nowadays, it's that guy who wants to run the ball right up the middle every time. It's going to be so funny in about 30 years when the air raid guy is the one who wants to throw the ball every play, and he's the one that's stuck in his ways. Everybody else is running the wishbone. It'll be interesting to see how they react to that, because air raid guy is a very specific guy. Coach, I want to ask you this too. What is, like, you've already talked about several coaches and ways that you've gotten better. Which coach over your career has helped you innovate and improve the most?
There's no way to answer that with just one guy. There's so many guys, but I will tell you this. I think one of the things that really changed me and changed my perspective was that I heard a clinic speech at Lawrence Fieldhouse in about 1985 with a guy named Tony Mason. And he gave a speech called Coaching Coaches. And anybody that's listening to this that hasn't watched that video or hasn't watched that presentation, they've missed out. We show it about every 3 years because our guys are probably sick of me showing it to them. I've probably seen it 10 times. I get something new every single time. I have the video myself, but it's Tony Mason Coaching Coaches, and it's more about how to coach. And I think in terms of influence, that would be one. The four guys that I've worked for as an assistant coach, I mean, they've taught me huge, vast things. Gus Malzahn's been great to me. Opposing coaches, which is sort of crazy, but it's the way our business is. There's a guy that was in Oklahoma for years in California named Ron Lancaster, who's been really, really a good friend of mine and been a great mentor. There was a basketball coach when we got our first job at Edmond, Oklahoma. You know, like I said, I was 30 years old and I didn't know what I didn't know. And he and his wife would have me over their house on Sunday after we had coaches meetings. And I was a bachelor at the time. I was fired up because I was going to get some food, but I also got wisdom. His name's Mike Delagarza, and Mike would sit down with me and discuss what I was doing and not necessarily critique me, but just say, why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? Have you ever thought about this? And Mike was a great, great mentor to me. And, but I will tell you this. I tell people that I have a superpower, and that is I'm unembarrassable. And I will ask anybody anything. I'm going to ask anybody anything. I don't care. Abraham Lincoln once said that it's better to remain silent and have people think you're a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I don't think that's bunk. I don't think that's true at all. I love Abraham Lincoln too. Don't get me wrong. I love Abraham Lincoln, but I don't think that's true. I'm going to ask. I'm not going to be rude. I hope not obnoxious, but I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to ask questions to anybody that I think has an answer to something that I need that can make us better. And I'm not ashamed to do that at all. We are a long way from having all the answers, and we're always trying to get there and trying to learn something new. But there's so many. It's such a great profession. So like I say, I got a buddy in Georgia, and I say, Sean, look at this. Tell me what you think. And I mean, in 2 hours later, we send it via huddle. 2 hours later, he'll call me up and he said, man, you stink. You're doing that's, he'll just tell me the straight up truth. And I mean, I have people like that. My brother, we swap stuff back and forth. I've got guys all over the country. Jeff Steinberg at Beaumont High School in Beaumont, California is one of the best coaches I've ever met in my life. And I'll call Jeff up and I'll say, Jeff, what do you think? It's so great to have those resources, and to pick one would be really, really hard. But I mean, if you nail me down to one, it would probably be John Lance, who I worked with for only 1 year at Edmond High School. He's I believe now, and he did it the right way. He took a holistic approach to coaching, the emotional, the spiritual, and the physical, and probably give him as much credit. We lost John at a very early age, tragic, and just I think about him a lot because he really helped sort of teach me to take the holistic approach to what we do in coaching the game of football.
And I love what you just said about not being afraid to ask questions. I mean, it's anything socially, like even if you're with a big group of people and they're not talking about football and everybody knows something, you want to act like you know it. So I want to ask you this. I've heard you talk about RPOs and PROs. What is the difference between those two things, and why do you differentiate them? And I've heard you talk about running those two different types of plays. What is the difference between an RPO for you and a PRO?
Well, I don't know technically if I know the answer, but this is what I believe. An RPO, we're reading a defender, and we're deciding whether to throw or run based on where the defender is. And the PRO, what we're reading is grass and distance. And if we can just take the ball and throw it in whatever route concept we have without reading the defender, that's what we'd call PRO. What we try to do is we'll line up in doubles, 2 receivers each side. We'll have PRO on one side and RPO on the other side. So if you have it, take it. You know, it might be the now screen, it might be bubble, it might be hitch screen, it might be something like that, or it might be a quick game double slant combination, something like that. And then to the boundary, you have, you know, the true RPO where you might have stick bubble or something like that, or now or whatever. But that's sort of the way that I look at it. We sort of, in different plays or different concepts that we have, we can do both. We can, or we'll line up, say, trips to the field, single to the boundary, and we'll just have an RPO concept to the field, and to the single, we'll let him check a route.
Okay.
He can signal a hitch, thumb for us is a quick out, fade. You know, he can check something to the boundary. And the other thing that we'll do is that we'll line up in doubles. For instance, we'll run quick game the field, whatever concept we like, double slant, fade out, or hitches, and then we have 9 things that we can check to the boundary to the 2 receiver side. We have 9 different things we can signal quickly and go really, really fast. And if they light box it, our line's blocking a play. So if they light box it, we can just go ahead and hand it off and go. And that's the way I look at it, and that's sort of the way that our offense is built, that we have quite a bit of versatility. And if we just want to line up and run a zone read, we have a way to just call zone read with no pass option, and the wide receiver guys are blocking it. You know, the great thing, you asked about going back to the flex bone, and it's going to be hard to do that, because what we've done is we've tricked a bunch of wide receivers that are actually basketball players into thinking that all they get to do is catch passes. And it's a lot more fun for those guys to say, hey, by the way, you're running around here, you might get the ball. Or say, hey, you need to go block his butt off like you're an offensive tackle. You know, stop block, chin up, thumbs up, elbows in, and move your feet as your stop block. And so it's a pretty good way to make everybody happy. And I want those basketball guys out for football. And it's going to be a hard sell to teach those guys to be wide tackles out there. They're not getting to catch the ball or run routes. At least if you're running a route, you might get it. You know, it might not be the most likely thing to happen, but at least you have a chance if you're running a route to catch the ball, as opposed to stop blocking some dadgum outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Right. So let me just make sure that I've got this. for you, a PRO, you're deciding that basically pre-snap. If it's there, we're taking it. If it's not, we're going to work the RPO side, which is going to be post-snap, where we're reading the defender or whatever.
Call that a gift. That'd be, you run hitches or routes or something like that because you're not going to mesh. You're not going to mesh on that. We just put a little signal into our back, and that means he's going to go block and not have a fake at all. And then if we don't signal, then we're going to go ahead and mesh and RPO it.
Right. What are any tips that you have for young coaches who are trying to advance? They're an assistant now. They eventually want to be a head coach, but they want to do it the right way. What tips do you have for them to help them get to that level?
I'm not going to advertise my website, but if you
go ahead,
advertise.
Go ahead,
advertise.
Do it.
But I have one of the last podcasts I put up was about that very question. Here's the number one thing: go to work for the best football coach that you have a chance. I mean, we interviewed when I was getting ready to get out of college. We interviewed with the best coaches I could find, and I didn't get offered 9 out of 10 jobs. I got 3 maybe, but somewhere in my brain I knew I needed to work for great head coaches. And so I did the very best I could to work for the best head coaches I could possibly work for. We got a job in Oklahoma, Dell City High School, worked for a guy named Henry Manning, who was fantastic. And after about 3 years, I started looking around. Who's the guy that I really want to learn from? And I focused on a guy named Mike Little that was at Putnam West. He had coached. He was one of the few guys in Oklahoma at that time that's throwing the football. Everybody else run daggone wishbone. And I decided I want to work for Mike. He had coached a quarterback named Scott Tinsley that started at USC, and I wanted to learn how to throw the football. And we were double down, kick out where we were, and it was fine, and I loved it. But I decided I wanted to go work for that guy, and I became buddies with the guy over there, and I just said, hey, if anything, if a floor sweeper, mopper, clean up the locker room job comes open over there, I'm ready. And after being at one place 5 years, I went to work for him for 2 years, and then circumstances led to me going to Edmond and working for the guy that I'd mentioned earlier. But number one, work for a great head coach. That's how you learn your job. And number two, and this is being a bachelor until I was 40, don't worry about title. Don't worry about money. Go to work for a guy that's going to teach you how to coach ball. And if you can afford to do that, don't worry about it. I've never been a coordinator. I've been a head coach for 30 years, and I was never a coordinator. And I see guys that are out there chasing titles and chasing jobs, and there's a fine line between. I've always believed that if I did my job the very best I could, that things would take care of themselves. And I remember, my buddies going in said, hey, did you see this job's open? Hey, did you see that job? Then I think sometimes you spend so much job pursuing the next job, you don't do your job very well. If you do your job well in this business, most of the time people are going to figure it out. People are going to know. And I think that's just one, work for a great head coach. And then two, don't worry about titles. Don't worry about anything like that. Just go in there and learn everything you can. I remember Mike Little, the second boss that I had. I went to him one time and said, what I need to do better. He said, I want to be a head coach. I want to be a great head coach. What I need to do. And he said, you need to look at the big picture. And what that meant was that even though I was the O-line, D-line coach, he told me that I need to pay attention to what we're teaching the punt block team, what we're teaching the punt team, what are we teaching the wide receivers and how to run their routes and the quarterbacks and how to do the reads. And that's what I took from that conversation. Just look how he handles the program. Look how he handles tough times and difficult times and learn from that and grow from that and just go to school when you're working for great head coaches.
Coach, another really cool thing you've done, I saw you won a $20,000 grant from East Bay in the Prepare to Win video contest, and you won it talking about your 56 sprints philosophy. Can you tell us a little bit about that philosophy? What is that?
Well, My daughter actually was one that made that video. She's a senior at Missouri State University now, and she's majored in video production or whatever that's called these days. But our 56 is what we do the last day of our summer program. We sort of build up to it. We have a 4-week summer program, and I used to call it strength and conditioning, but I figured out that's poor marketing. So we call it speed and strength training. And conditioning just sounds too hard. The last day, we're going to run 56 sprints between 5 and 50 yards with 15 to 20-second intervals. And we run it like a game. We run 200 yards of sprints, 5 to 50 yards, down and back, down and back. That's quarter one. Then down and back, that's quarter two, and so on and so forth. And we run it just like you would a game. And if they don't go full speed, if they don't finish past the line, they get to do it again. They get the opportunity to do it again. And I think when we walk off the field that day, that's going to happen for us next Thursday. When they walk off that field, they have a sense that they're ready to play a football game, at least in terms of condition. And I think that's one of the things. And it's crazy how you get ideas. My next door neighbor in Broken Arrow played at Bethany College in Lindsborg, Kansas. And Dr. Ted Kessinger, that's how he trained his kids. And it just made sense for the game of football to train like a game. And I thank Dr. Ted for that very, very much, because we still use it. I've shared it all over the place. We played a team here about 10 years ago that their big deal was 57 sprints. They were going to run one more than Greenwood. And make a big deal out of 57 sprint. And those rascals beat us here at home on homecoming, so I guess it worked. But we didn't change to 58. We just stayed at 56, and this worked well for us. But that's the thing, and we build up to it. We run one quarter of it on the first Thursday, 2 quarters on the second Thursday, 3 quarters on the third Thursdays, and then we line up and run 4 quarters on our fourth Thursday. But that's been something I think is really, really good. Anybody want to send me an email, I'll be happy to send it to them. It's old, but it's I think it's a great way to train a football team.
Yeah, good stuff. Coach, wrapping up here, I wanted to ask you your story. You told me you had a little story, Nick Saban coming to recruit at Greenwood. What happened with that when Saban came down to recruit one of your guys at Greenwood High?
You can imagine. He had just been hired. And I'm thinking a month ago, he's probably sitting on a yacht in Miami. He'd just been hired. Now he's sitting here in Greenwood, Arkansas. Well, the word got out that he was going to be here. We had 300 at that day in spring practice, probably. People just wanted to catch a glimpse of Coach Saban. And so Major Applewhite and Coach Saban comes in. And honestly, he was on a business trip. He didn't want to take pictures. He didn't want to sign autographs. He wanted to come in, watch our kid throw the football, get on a plane and go watch the next kid throw the football. And everything I'd heard about Coach Saban, we're so excited. Because to me, that'd be like my mother running into Brad Pitt at the Walmart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's the guy. He's the guy. Him or Bill Belichick or maybe even Dabo in this day and age. I'll put Dabo in that top rung of those guys.
Yeah.
But Coach Saban is sitting in my office, and all of a sudden he starts pencil whipping me about what we're doing on offense. And he gets on the board, and he's drawing up how he's going to stop us. And I'm like, why do we not have a camera? Why do we not have this on? I'm getting pencil whipped by the greatest coach in history, or at least one of them. And he's just going on and on and on. And I'm thinking, oh, my goodness, this is unbelievable. He stayed because I knew he had to catch another plane to see another quarterback somewhere down the road. And he's sitting here talking. And then I asked him about the book that he had written. And he goes into this big, long talk about the book. And I'm pinching myself, honestly, because it's such an honor just to have Nick Saban at Greenwood, Arkansas, to be here. And then to have him in our office talking football. How awesome is that? And then I hear a knock on the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no. And he doesn't even take a breath. He's still just talking. I'm thinking, well, maybe the knock will go away. And then hear it again. I hear the dreaded knock. And he finally took a breath, and I said, "Hey, Coach, just a second." And I go to the door, and it's our 9th team wide receiver. He's about 5'4". And he says, "Hey, Coach, is that cookie dough money due on Monday or Friday?"
Oh, gosh.
You can imagine the feelings that go through my brain. And I "Hey, bud, they're due on Friday." And it was about within probably 6.3 seconds, Coach Saban, Major Applewhite are gone from Greenwood for good. And I think he had to be thinking to himself, why am I not on the yacht in my, what in the world have I gotten myself into?
So, was he doing that? And be honest here. I want to know, like, for real with Nick Saban. Was Nick Saban doing that in a way of, like, helping you? Or was it like he was like, this is how I would stop it? Was it like he helping you in doing it? Or was he like, this is how I'd stop it, buddy. You can't do nothing about it?
No, he was. That's what was so awesome about it, because he was sincere. He was up there, and his whole demeanor, and I have so much respect for him, but he goes up to the board, his whole demeanor changes. Right. He gets excitement in his voice. He gets fired up, and especially when he's talking about defense, and he's drawing that stuff up, and he said, "Well, if you did that, then I would do this." And then he said, "What would you do? What would you do?" And I said, "Well, I do that." He said, "Then I do this." And it wasn't. He was so sincere and so awesome. And just the excitement. It was so fun to watch him transform into Coach Saban instead of the mythical figure, Nick Saban. But it was a great experience. Obviously, I'll never forget it. That young man that knocked on my door will never know what he did to ruin my life. Because
Coach, you said he didn't want to take pictures and autographs. Were people like gathering around him? Was it getting pretty? Like, were there a lot of people getting around?
No, there were one or two that tried, but I guess they took the hint when the other ones went off that we weren't going to be taking a whole lot of pictures. He was on a business trip, we are in a great town, and while we were proud to have Nick Saban here, they understood that and let him do his job, and he offered our kids, so everything's good. But
who was that?
Tyler Wilson. Tyler ended up going to Arkansas.
Okay,
yeah, he
cool.
got drafted by the Lakers in the 4th round. Yeah, he is a great kid, great player. Started 2 years up at Arkansas, and a great kid.
Yeah, well, Coach, that had to be all. I know meeting Nick Saban as a coach, that's like the pinnacle of everything. But
yeah.
Man, I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with us here before football season gets started. And I've definitely learned a lot. I know a lot of the guys that listen they're all gonna learn from it. So I appreciate your time, man, and I hope to speak to you again soon.
You bet. I tell you, I'd be happy. It's rick.jones@greenwoodk12.com is my email. Shoot me an email. I love talking ball. I think that, as I said, I'm unembarrassable, but over 42 years or so, whatever we've coached, there's been so many coaches that have been so willing for no good reason to help me other than they're just good people. That if I could help somebody, I feel if there's any way to sort of pay that forward, that's sort of what I'm going to try to do any chance I get. And I love football, and I love coaches, and I'd be willing to help in any way I possibly could. But I appreciate this opportunity, Jonathan, and it was great meeting you and visiting with you, and we're looking forward to it. The season's starting, we're getting ready to roll here.
Yes,
Good
sir.
luck that first.
I appreciate it, Coach. Before you go, I do want you to say your website. I want you to drop that plug right there. What's your website?
www.coachrickjones.com.
You heard it, guys. Go check them out. Coach, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Yes, sir. Chad, do you think that you're going to be able to take anything that Coach Jones just talked to us about and put it in? Like, is it going to make you better tomorrow? Is there anything that you think with, like, the PROs and the RPOs that you already do or that you think can make you better right now?
Yeah, definitely already do some of that. The package plays and stuff. I think that he's in a situation where he probably can do more of that. Bigger schools, you can do more of that. With us being in 1A, we try to keep things simplified. But, I've been doing that for for a few years now, a lot of the package plays more than the RPO plays. But I mean, it's cool that he's able to continue to stay ahead of it, and the transition that he's gone through as a coach after all those years that he's still doing. He's still staying ahead of the curve. It's really amazing that him.
He's not set in his ways at all.
Yeah, no, and obviously you get. I mean, shoot, I've been coaching for 5 years, and there's probably things that I'm already set in my ways at, and he's been doing it for 42 years. And I mean, I guarantee you, if somebody came up with something like that is like the air raid version of, what the air raid was in the late 90s now, like he would have no problem jumping to it if he felt like that was the new, that was the new thing to do to help him score points. I mean, he'd have no problem jumping to that after all these years.
Speaking of air raid, we talked about air raid guy during the podcast for a second and how things swing back and forth with football and how one day they may swing back to being run-heavy offenses, people in the double wing, wishbone. And I thought it was a cool idea. Maybe we go through some profiles of how coaches are. And today I want to talk about air raid guy and how would he react if things go back to old traditional foot-to-foot, run the power, dive, veer, midline. Chad, what do you think air raid guy's reaction is to that? First off, we need to describe air raid guy. I'll go first.
Hold on. Before you do this, before everybody starts hating us, I need to say something about air raid guy first off. I love air raid guy. I love him. His podcasts are great. There's ideas. Like, I love to get air raid guy to send me PowerPoints. And if you get air raid guy to send you a PowerPoint, he's going to send you 120 slides with 75 video clips in there. Everything from how you install on the classroom all the way through to what you do on the practice field. I love those 130 or 130 slide PowerPoints. I'm only going to use like one slide, but I love that air raid guy is willing to throw all that out there because they love the air raid more than anything. So if they think that they could get me to do something, they send me everything they have, and I'll use a tiny, tiny bit of it. And so I really appreciate that. And I appreciate their dedication. So before they all hate us for what you're about to say, I needed to say that.
If you can't make fun of yourself, then you don't need to be. I can make fun of myself for who I am as a coach. But first off, air raid guy's PowerPoint is a lot different than power guy's PowerPoint. Power guy didn't make a PowerPoint. He had an overhead projector that he took pictures of, and he put them into a 2006 Microsoft PowerPoint presentation. Air raid guy has a graphic designer that made his logo. And it's on every slide of his PowerPoint.
It's on every slide as the background, as like the clear background.
Also, and it looks good. Also, air raid guy's Twitter bio has more emojis than a high school girl's. Like, there are so many fire emojis in that bio. And Chad, I know you're
gosh.
Why is that bad to say?
No, you're good. Keep rolling, man. Keep rolling with your profile. I'll add one thing. Air raid guy is much more likely to wear a backpack on the sidelines.
Oh, gosh, yeah. And wristbands that are like Under Armour.
Oh, yeah, backwards hat, yeah.
Yeah, backwards hat for sure. Got the branded. He ain't wearing Russell. He's wearing Under Armour or Nike.
Oh, yeah, he's wearing the branded stuff now, yeah.
What about air raid guy? Does he have facial hair?
Yeah, they all just want to look like Cliff Kingsbury. So they're all doing their best to try to do the whole thing. Like, they'll actually wear Ray-Bans on the sidelines. Possibly they're going to gel their hair before the game. If they don't wear a hat, the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, air raid guy definitely has a look, and the air raid guy lives or dies with the air raid now. There is no other way.
There isn't.
No other way.
He was good at Madden too in high school and college.
Oh, gosh.
He was the guy in high school and college that collected
hot routing. He was hot routing everybody every play. Just dicing people up.
Custom playbooks.
Oh yeah.
Everything is his system. He watched Hal Mummy film that he got on VHS when he was in high school. Modern air raid guys got more access to those things. But yeah, Madden Pro. Now, how does air raid guy Chad react to football going back to full-on running? Does air raid guy keep coaching?
Well, let's layer this. All right. First, do you think that is what's going to happen? Do you think air raid guy needs to be worried? That's the first layer I think we need to attack.
I think that in some places he could be worried. Now, I don't know that will happen. The game is cyclical. I think that, and we've only seen really, I guess, one cycle. We've seen it go from crazy running to passing. But you've got to think at some point, maybe it's in the year 3000, it goes back to running the ball.
I pretty much agree with you.
Yeah,
I mean, I think that it's at some point it's going to cycle out with the evolution of the game, because there's still going to be steps that the passing game can take. And then it's going to cycle back around for sure. Or, I mean, I think so. I don't know that it's ever going to get back to 2 tight end all the time for big programs and up into the NFL and all that. I mean, air raid guy is going to have to probably go coach soccer.
I think he's basketball, to be honest.
Basketball and grass.
Because they love to say that. It's
basketball and grass.
It's like playing basketball.
They love it. They're going to take that point guard and make them, sit in their classroom and draw on the board and everything.
If you've ever been to a clinic, you have heard air raid guys say, "Guys, we're basically playing basketball on grass." And Chad, how is that basketball on grass? How is throwing the ball in a football game like playing basketball on grass? Is it because
does it come from the fast break? I guess because we're going no huddle, the point guard's running and just kind of, throwing it to people running the lanes or something.
There's 5 wide receivers, 5 basketball players. They just run, and the quarterback throws it fast. And I think it just sounds cool, to be honest. I think it sounds like when you think basketball, you just think of people running. So he's like, we're running all over the field. Mesh. Running mesh. We'll run it. I heard Hal Mummy at a clinic say one time, we ran mesh 6 times in a row. And honestly, Hal Mummy, he loves that. That is his, that is.
I thought you were about to go somewhere else with that Hal Mummy, because I have a Hal Mummy take that I don't know if I want to say.
Go ahead and tell it. Hal Mummy is good at
What is his career record? What is it?
He beat LSU at Kentucky. Or was it Florida?
It's Alabama.
He beat Bama at Kentucky?
Yeah.
So that was his thing. He beat
90s with Tim Couch, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He won that game at Kentucky, and now everybody was like, Hal Mummy and the air raid are amazing. What about Mike Leach?
Hal Mummy to me, but that's the thing. Hal Mummy to me is how a lot of air raid guys, he was the live or die by the air raid type guy. He literally, he would probably tell you, I'd rather just have fun running the air raid than to win.
Yeah. I think air raid guy would rather coach rec football running the air raid than be an NFL coach on a team that runs 2 tight ends and wins the Super Bowl. Hal Mummy would rather coach a 10-year-old football team with a really good quarterback than coach in the NFL and win a Super Bowl if the Patriots were running foot-to-foot dive and power and counter every play.
Oh, gosh. This is the most controversial thing we've ever talked about.
There
are people that are going to hate this, man.
Why?
Literally, there are people right now listening to this, who Hal Mummy is their guy. When they were little, they had Hal Mummy in their AIM, handle thing.
Hal Mummy knows more about football than me or you.
Yeah, accurate.
Okay, so, why can we not say what we think about him?
I'm just telling you, there are people who, Hal Mummy is the guy.
There's a shrine to him. They got newspaper clippings.
They love them. They love them. They sit there and watch that YouTube clip of that whenever it was 97 or 98 where Tim Couch and them beat Alabama. They just watch it all the time. It's split backs out of the gun, and they just keep running Y cross over and over. Y cross.
I'll say this too. Hal Mummy and Mike Leach and all those air raid guys are hilarious.
Mike Leach Mike Leach has won everywhere. Mike Leach deserves a better job than what he has. I'm all in on Mike Leach because he's won.
Yeah.
But what they did, Hal Mummy obviously did revolutionize. Even though he didn't necessarily take advantage of it, it did revolutionize.
You hate Hal Mummy.
The game. I've got to say these things so people won't hate me.
Dude, Hal Mummy's a good coach. But I'll say, with Coach Jones, he would never be he would never just say, I'm running the air raid. And even if it doesn't work and there's something I can do better, I'm going to do that. I think that everybody that likes the air raid doesn't necessarily say that, though. Air raid guy is the guy that says, I'm running the air raid, even if I have every person on my team's over 300 pounds, they're running the air raid.
And my quarterback's terrible.
Yeah.
And we've got a stud running back. and our offensive line's huge, we're going to air raid this thing.
I've got 3 D1 running backs and a quarterback that runs a 4-2 and no wide receivers, but I'm
But here's the thing. This is what they'll say. This is exactly what they'll say. This is their response. This is what they're yelling in the car right now. The air raid sets up the run. You can run the ball out of the air raid. Like, that is what they're screaming right now.
Well,
Mike
Leach,
the box. You can run the ball.
Mike Leach said 50% run and 50% pass is about 50% stupid. So, I mean, I don't think that he's trying to be balanced, which I agree. You don't have to just say we're going to be balanced for the sake of being balanced, but air raid guys run an inside zone, and that's about it. I mean,
I've coached for 2 years. In by far the more successful year, we basically ran the air raid. I'm not air raid guy, but I believe in it when you have 100% when you have the right personnel. I just got to keep throwing these disclaimers in.
You know what I want to do? I want air raid guy to reach out to us on Twitter or email us at Coaches Drive on Twitter is our handle, or thecoachesdrive@gmail.com. And I want to invite. We're going to choose an air raid guy to come on the show, and he's going to talk about the air raid, and we're going to ask him about why he loves it. And we're not going to be mean, but I want to get an air raid guy on here that lives and dies by the air raid to come tell us why it's the best offense ever. Are you afraid to do that, Chad? Is that cool?
No, I'm not afraid. I'm afraid that I'm good with the air raid. Like, air raid guy can be extreme, but
I want extreme air raid guy. That's who I want. I want Hal Mummy on steroids. I want him to come on here and tell us why we're idiots and why the air raid is the best thing ever.
If I had my choice and could pick my players, I would lean towards the air raid. I really, really would. So again, I need to throw that disclaimer out there.
Guys,
you hate it.
I don't hate it. Well, I ran air raid on Madden in 2011 when I was killing everybody in the dorm room with Arkansas and Ryan Mallett. I was killing it.
Mallett.
Yeah, but I don't hate the air raid. I just think it's funny to talk about air raid guy. I think the power guy is funny. I mean, I would consider myself I don't really know what guy I am, but whoever I am can be made fun of. Everybody can be made fun of.
I know.
You sound like a politician right now. You keep apologizing for having a take.
Is it not? That's not what I'm saying.
You can have an opinion. It's not offensive to say that people are the way they are.
Did I not say my opinion?
You did, but you're like, air raid guy, you're really good.
I said my opinion. Air raid guy can be extreme. Hal Mummy isn't that good of a coach because he's never won.
Wow.
And Mike Leach is freaking awesome. He's awesome. I mean, I'm just saying, there's two.
I mean, he did put that guy in the shed and tell him not to come out, and he was about to die from being overheated. But as a coach, yeah, he's been successful calling plays. Yeah,
it wouldn't have been nothing if it wasn't Craig James' son. I mean, I think that I'm just saying, you're acting by me putting true disclaimers in there that I'm being soft towards air raid guy. I'm not air raid guy, but
you're backing off a little bit.
I'm not backing off.
A little bit. You are.
No, I'm just not being ridiculous.
I'm not either.
But right, because you don't have those disclaimers like I do. I have literally ran essentially the air raid before. And it's been more successful than anything I've done. So why is that? How's that backing off? That's a true statement.
Okay, whatever. Air raid guy, we love you. We do want extreme.
I won that argument, obviously.
That wasn't even an argument. We do want extreme air raid guy to come on here. Chad's probably going to try to act like he's your best friend and be afraid of you. I'm going to tell you why I don't think you're right. But
do you know me to be someone that is afraid of confrontation?
We may, if we do invite somebody on here to talk though, we may get too. Yeah, we don't want to. We're not going to scream at anybody, but I want extreme air raid guy on here. I want you to be I'm right. And then I just want to have a discussion. We need to make that happen. But guys, we need to sign off here. We're getting about to our limit. We try to keep it about 1:10 every time. Good luck Friday night for those of you who have games. Those of you getting ready to have games, go prepare and do what you can do. If you're an air raid guy, run the air raid. Run it proud, baby. You got anything, Chad?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, guys.
Later.